Welcome back to Timo's Dinky and Diecast. Today's video is going to be of a Dinky 215 Ford GT40. This is the car. Obviously it has an entire body part missing. The front clamshell is gone. It's mostly looks like it's in good shape. It has the windshield is intact and not scratched up terribly. So the issue is it has to do with why the front clamshell is missing from top and bottom and sides. It looks like it's in pretty good shape, and the rear clamshell is working just fine. On the bottom, you'll notice that somebody's drilled out the rivets and put glue in place to hold the bottom on. Problem is, if you look at that, see the one on the front has come completely loose, and that's why the clamshell has come off. And the back one is still glued in place, so I'm going to take the tiny little burr, the carbide burr in the Dremel tool, which is what I'm using these days to take these bases off. It simplifies the job quite a bit. I don't have to go and clamp it into a vise or anything like that. So I've ground that stuff off. Somebody's left the stuff on the surface, which is good. And so that one's been drilled out and a little bit more carefully than the front one. So these axles are attached to the wheels, so those don't have to come apart. So I'll work on those later. And the interior just falls out. That looks in perfect condition. Nothing wrong with it. It's not even really dirty. Steering wheel is good. Don't have to do much with that one, that's for sure. Now the windshield, it's kind of unusual. Oh, that's the back clamshell first. So the windshield, it doesn't fall out because you need to slide it. And it's been glued in, but I don't think the glue is holding anything. So I'm just pushing it out, so it actually slides out forward, and there you go. So that's very good because that doesn't have to be glued in. It's not likely to fall out by accident, and the inside certainly looks good. So it has nobody's played with that windshield when it was apart, so just the outside has to be polished. So the back window has been replaced by somebody, and the plastic that's there has turned yellow. I'm not going to be reusing that. And there it is. Somebody did a pretty good job. Now here's the base. The back hole is okay, but the front one is like ridiculous. So if I put a screw in there, it just falls right through. The back one, it's okay. There's a 440 button head cap screw. And now this is the new clamshell. I started this before I took the toy apart, but I put it in this order because it seems silly to show you the part that I manufactured before showing you the toy. So there's another one. The latest one is an improvement, and I believe that's the second last one. So here I've got the thing all designed. What I did was I used a model of a GT40 that was a very small one on Thingiverse, and I blew it up bigger, and I cut away everything that didn't look like the front clamshell. So I had to carve away the inside, and that was all done in the computer. And here I modeled it in so that it was printed with a hole, but of course the hole gets filled with the resin and then hardens before you can do anything. So you have to drill out those horizontal holes like that because the resin just doesn't drain out of them. So this is really speeded up because I'm trying to get this just right. Then this is the second last one. The final one I'll show you in a minute. So now the other parts can go for paint stripping. So they go outside, and I put boiling water into there and caustic soda. And the caustic soda causes the water to heat up very fast, and it bubbles and boils, and it strips the paint off. So that was pretty easy. Everything pretty much came off on the first try. Now I can deal with this gigantic hole that's drilled off center. The bad one's a little bit rough. I'll fix it up a little. I'm going to use JB Weld. And for the front one, the JB Weld is not strong enough to be used all by itself, but it's as a glue, it's good. It's very strong, and you can drill and tap the stuff if there's enough support around the JB Weld. So in this case, on the front one, I'm not going to just have JB Weld and drill a hole through it. I'm going to put that little washer that's sitting around, and I'm going to glue that in place, and that way I'll be able to have the screw that will be registering against the washer, which expands over top of the casting. So the JB Weld just needs to hold it in place very, very firmly. So the JB Weld, it's a two-part epoxy with metal in it. Very fine metal, so I'm not sure exactly how much stronger it is than ordinary epoxy. It is stronger for sure. It's basically the same thing, I guess. It just has some metal particles in it. The difference is the 5-minute epoxy hardens in 5 minutes. JB Weld, I leave it overnight. It won't harden properly unless it's at least 12 hours. So in the meantime, I get my spot and glaze putty. This is for automotive use, and I try and smooth out some of the lines, because 3D printing leaves lines on everything. In some cases it's not that annoying, and in other cases it is very annoying, depending on the angle. And of course, a curved part like that, it'll have parts that print nicely, and it'll have parts that print very rough. So I'm trying to smooth it out with that. Then I've got the JB Weld going there still, so I'm gluing in that shaft. It's actually an axle shaft. It's exactly the same material on the rear clamshell. So they just cut a piece, and the casting is pressed to hold the piece in the front. So I did the same thing by putting a piece of axle inside through those holes. So here the JB Weld is hardened. I put some on the posts as well, because the posts were damaged by the drill. So at least it gives me a flat top to register to when I'm doing the drilling. Now this is the base. I'm drilling from the inside because I covered with tape, because you can see where the actual hole is. And actually later on, when I go through with the bigger drill, the hole keeps it registered because the JB Weld is softer, so the drill just centers on the hole in the casting. The front is not so easy, but I did glue in that washer, so here I'm just pricking the little center of that hole by eye. And these are just pilot holes, and then I'll clean them up with a bigger drill or with a file, whatever I need to do to get the thing so that it's in the right location. And the hole is in the right location. So there, it's drilled through. So now I go with the bigger drill to be a clearance hole for the screws. And I'm able to do all this just with the hand tools. Now I'm taping this up. I put the main body portion, the center of the body, and the base onto it, so that I can clamp onto the base. So I've gone into the milling machine now, and I've speeded this up. So I'm drilling, aligning to the hole, and then I took the base off, and then I drill, and then I come back to the bench. I put a little oil, and here's my 440 tap. And you can see I'm moving it 90 degrees. What I'm doing is I'm making sure that it's straight in all directions. It's square. That's the way you do. That's how you square it up by eyeball. You have to adjust it, move the piece, or move your head. It's easier to move your piece in this case. And there, so I use the spiral fluted tap, so that as it's tapping, the swarf comes outward, so it doesn't pile up in the bottom of the post. So here I'm putting the screws in for testing. You have to do this. You have to dry fit these things, because later on, when all the work is done, and it's all painted and everything, you don't want to find out that your hole needs to be a bit bigger, and then you'll drill and then the paint will chip off, and then you'll have to add a little bit of paint for that. Now you gotta test fit all these things. You learn these things from experience, and when you don't test fit it, and then it's all ready to go together and it won't fit, and you'd be surprised at how often that happens. So here's the clamshell again. JB Weld is hardened on this one, and I'm cleaning it up too. So now I'm putting paint on these things. This is a primer, and this is a store-bought primer. I don't have any primer from Tamiya anymore, and it's not available in Canada anymore. It's been banned, just like they banned all the Mr. Hobby paints. They've banned everything, and I don't know. This one's okay because I plan on doing it with spray bombs anyway. Okay, just a little update. I sprayed the primer on these toys, and I stripped it back off again. The problem is I didn't have any fine surface primer, the Tamiya primer. What I had was a couple of the ones from the test earlier. This one is a ordinary hardware store primer, and the problem with this one, it's not a bad paint. It's not as fine as the Tamiya stuff, but it's also not that thick. But the problem is this thing. These caps get plugged up, and on this particular brand, they advertise that you can paint with the can upside down. Of course, that means that you can't clean out that nozzle at the end of your paint session. So this one I tried to use, nozzle's already plugged. It's still maybe a little bit less than half full. The rest of that paint totally wasted. You can't buy replacement caps for this, and that's for obvious reasons, because this way you wind up throwing out a third of your paint. So then I went to another one that I had, which is this one. This one you can turn it upside down, and it's bare, and I got it from Home Depot. And this one you can, the cap looks similar, but you can turn this one upside down to clean the nozzle, and you can't paint with it upside down. The problem with this one is the paint is very thick, which might be good on something really big, and I can't think of what, but it's mostly useless for me. But I did keep the paint on this part. You can see I've sanded it all away, and actually it filled up any imperfections in the casting or in the 3D printing, so it's kind of handy. And I sanded it all, most of it off, and I'll have to paint more primer because, well, it's pretty clearly, I sanded right through the primer. So I was able to rescue that, and it actually served another purpose, as it filled in all the imperfections on the casting. So I'm okay with that, but I'm going to have to put another coat of primer, and the primer that I'm going to use, I can't get any Tamiya fine surface primer. It's not in stock anywhere in Canada, because apparently you can't ship it to Canada anymore, so because it's a pressurized item. So all the spray cans in all the hobby shops are gone. So the solution is to not use white. This is the cheapo primer at Canadian Tire. This is an automotive primer. I've used it on my wife's car before putting the final coat on, and it's adequate. It's also fairly fine, and you can turn this one upside down. It's got the smaller old style of cap, and you can turn this upside down to clear the paint out of the cap. So this one's lasting longer. It's gray, so I'm going to have to paint more white over top to make the model white. I just wanted to bring that up because it's been on my mind for a while. Anything that you can't turn upside down, you can only count on painting 1 or 2 models with it, and then it's done. It's garbage. So, now I'll carry on. Okay, here's another black paint. This one has the cap you can't clean out, so in an effort to try and clean it out, I made a mess out of it. This is 3/4 full, and it's worthless because you can't clean the cap by spraying it upside down. It's very sad, but anyway, that's going in the garbage. So this one's bare paint. It's a satin finish, and it also lets you clean the nozzle, so I know it's in there, but I don't like to use this much because it takes several days to dry. It's a nightmare. But that's all I have right now, and so for the base, I'm going to be using this. So we're back, and here's the front clamshell. It's been painted with the gray primer, and now I'm going to put some putty because there's still some defects that I didn't notice. And I'm using this putty. I don't use the spot and glaze putty because it'll melt the paint. So I use this putty. It doesn't affect the paint. So there, it's all been sanded again, and now again another coat of paint, or at least the primer. So now time for doing the windshield. So you can see there's some deeper scratches and very light scratches. So I'm using the micro mesh polishing system, and these are beautiful. It's a cloth with a rubber coating and then the grit. And so the first bit there I was getting down through a scratch, and the rest of them, once I'm through the big scratch, actually the little scratches come off in that same process, but in the one part I had to go a little bit more, and then I go step by step, always to a finer and finer grit, and each time I have to polish it a lot to make sure I get all of the scratches off, and by the time I'm getting to 12,000, it's basically buffing. It's very unlike any kind of sandpaper. And there, it looks pretty good. And what I've been doing lately is I find that I can get a nice polish on the plastic, but I can make it look even better when I dip it in the floor polish. This is acrylic floor polish, and most folks are using this when they're doing restorations. They will sand it or polish it in some other way, and then at the end they'll dip it in the floor polish, and it does give it a very, very shiny, perfect surface. So I leave it overnight. That stuff takes a long time to dry, and you don't want to mess with it, and that's why I put a cover so no dust gets on it, because otherwise it'll just attract a bunch of dust. So here's one of the axles with the wheels on the ends, and I'm going to be painting those, but I want to make sure that I can get the tires on without damaging the shiny paint I'm going to be using. So I've cleaned these up, making sure that it's all dry. And now I've got my tires. So this is Meguiar's Hot Stuff tire spray. So I'm just using a tiny bit. This is so you wash your car and you want to go to a car show or to gathering at the plaza where all the guys come with their old cars, and you shine up your tires. So I'm using this. I've done this before. Sometimes the tires look a little bit faded and kind of a white glaze on them, and this will let me make them all shiny. I'm using a glove because I don't know what kind of terrible chemicals are in there. But once the stuff is on there and I dry off the excess, which I'm doing here, then the tires end up being pretty much dry. So here they've had a chance to dry, so I'm putting them over those over the wheels. These are wire wheels, or at least they're decorated like they're wire wheels. They're pretty good. And then I'm going to wrap these tires up. It's kind of a finicky thing. I've never done this before, but I don't want to paint the tires, and I don't want to put the tires over the paint. So I want to bring the tires from behind the wheel and put them on, so I'm not rubbing them up against the freshly painted wheel and spoiling the paint. Mind you, the paint I'm using probably is sturdy enough to survive, but I'm not taking any chances. This is a chrome spray. I bought this some time ago. I don't use it very often. It's 40 Canadian dollars for the can, so I use it pretty sparingly. You're able to turn those ones upside down and clean the nozzle too, thank goodness. But I don't know if those are available in Canada anymore either. So here I've got some plastic from some packaging, and I put tape on it. I'm going to make the rear window just as somebody else did in the past. So I'm measuring because I'm going to attach the window to the two posts that are there designed for that purpose. So I've measured it. That's the spacing of the posts. And then to mark it so that they're square, look, I'm lining up the front with the lines, and then I can see the line on the grid in the background. So I can put my punch on there, and now I've got my two holes. You can see in the background there's another one where I got it wrong. There I'm putting it on backwards, but anyway. Or maybe not. Oh, that's right. So they're not exactly, which is good, because then as I press them on, they kind of smush out of the way, and that makes it a little bit more better held in place. So that's done, and now I'm going to repaint the engine. So I've got the tape on there, and then I put paper towel. It's fairly simple, and I'm not going to be spraying all over the place, so just the paper towel is just going to stop it from overspray. And this is the metallic paint, and I love this stuff, and it's hardware store paint, and it's perfect for this kind of stuff. It's not as shiny as like Molotow or the Revel paint, but it has the advantage that it looks very similar to the silver paints that Dinky used, and Corgi even used them as well, and they are a little bit metallic. Here I'm just taking, when I was painting, I put a piece of tape over that that axle that lets the clamshell tip. If I had painted that, it would have been trouble. So here's my tires painted with the Revel paint. And now it's a tricky thing to get the darn thing on without handling the front of the wheel. And actually, when I'm doing this, I'm realizing the rim where the tire is going on, I'm touching it, and I'm not leaving any fingerprints behind. So I probably could have just put them on afterwards, and it wouldn't affect the rim. That paint is like a miracle. It's like almost as strong as the chrome stuff that they would plate these parts with sometimes, like the real metal plating. So now, coming soon, the next project I'm going to be doing as a new project is involving these two cars. It's a Prisoner project. These two cars were in an episode of The Prisoner. Prisoner doesn't have very many cars in it. And these are two that were in one episode called The Girl Who Was Death. I seem to remember it being called The Girl Who Was to Be Death or something, but apparently it's The Girl Who Was Death. So you can watch that episode, and we can get back to this restoration. So this is laser printed onto the blue back water slide paper, and I'm putting acrylic on it, that same acrylic I put on the windshield, and I just painted it on because I find that the powder from the printer toner goes on there, and it's kind of like a powder on the surface, and it comes off very easily. It scratches off too easily. And so what I do is I have a habit now of painting it ahead of time with the floor polish. Here I'm cutting it as close as I can to the decal portion. Measuring, and you can see I'll just cut that off, and there we have it. Now at the very end of that, I've cut it with a knife, I've cut it with a knife so that I can hold on with the tweezers and pull the water slide off of it, because it's on a separate piece. I just cut the water slide part and not the paper, so that's why I'm able to grab the end without grabbing the water slide, the printed part. There, and it wrapped right around like it's supposed to. So then I do the same for the front. I'm putting, this is the mark setter, so this is the setting glue that's made by Mr. Hobby. And you see I'm separating that piece of the clear one. And even with the X-Acto knife, I don't always cut that thing perfectly, so that was a little bit of a problem to solve. But you can see then I can pull it, and that's very convenient. So what's bad is my finger is up there, so it makes it hard. When I press it down, then it's almost impossible to move the decal. So it's a pretty delicate process. But I must admit, the ones that are professionally printed, those are usually easier to work with than these ones that I print myself. So I get those in place. So here I'm doing the front this time. I did the engine before, and the front, when you open up the clamshell, it's got a bunch of stuff that's supposed to look like springs and stuff. So I made those silver as well, so they look pretty. Of course, in the front of these cars that didn't have an engine, it's in the back, so in the front they would have had radiators. The toy doesn't have the radiators, but anyway, they had to put something there, and they put a bunch of the mechanism for the suspension. So here's that interior. So this has not been touched yet. I take it to the sink, rinse it off, and I don't know if I had to rinse it really. It looked pretty darn clean. So I did anyway, and it looks perfect. So there's the front clamshell. Now I was able to do a nice trick with the modeling software, the CAD software, and I was able to make a negative of these headlight wells. So you got a headlight at the back, and then you've got this like a cylinder in front of it so the light can shine through, and then they had a glass cover. And this would be very hard to design on the computer, except that all I did was I cut those wells, and then I just made I made a negative. I subtracted the wells from another part, and the result is it fits. I had to scale it down a little bit, but it fits absolutely perfectly, and so it really matches. It matches the rest of the clamshell. Really, it came better than I ever expected. So the back, I'm doing a little bit of detailing. These cars came into the Le Mans circuit. All of a sudden Ford shows up. Ferrari was winning everything, and Ford came in and they won a couple seasons, and then in I think '66 they won first, second, and third places. And then another year or two they packed it up and they went home. Ford didn't want to do that racing in Europe. So this was in the 60s at least. I know they returned in more modern times. But this was a spectacular car, and it really dominated while it was on the Le Mans circuit. So there are all the parts. So there's the back window. So I put the green on there because if I don't put the green tape there, the thing winds up with all kinds of fingerprints on it and scratches. And this way it gives it a much better chance to get on the toy and look shiny and new. So I press it onto those posts and I peel it up from the corner. There. Looks beautiful. So now to put it together, the windshield goes in. See, I'm wearing a glove, so it keeps the oils of my fingers off. On the other hand, I'm leaving it bare so that I can better control putting these things in place. So there are the clamshells. They're in their little grooves. Now I forgot to take those screws out ahead of time. So the axles go in there, and the base. Here go some brand new screws. So just to remind you of what we started with, kind of half a car, and let's see what it looks like now. Well, I think it looks pretty good. I don't know if it's as good as the original. I don't have an original to compare it with, but that's better than not having a toy at all. And I was thinking of just taking the wheels off of it and throwing the rest into a box and maybe use it for parts, but then I said, why don't I bring it back to life? So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Timo's Dinky and Diecast. Until next time, be seeing you. Oh, and remember to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this episode. If you've already subscribed, don't forget to like. That's what everybody forgets, the little thumbs up. Thank you.